What's up, everybody? Midjourney Fast Hours podcast, early morning edition. What is this? Pre-dark. Pre-dark morning edition. Sunrise edition. I don't know. We'll workshop that thing. We'll figure it out. We were just trying to find a time to shoot, and we had some updates come through with Midjourney, which we'll talk about today. Lots of them. A lot of things that have already dropped into the latest update, but also some things that are coming up here as we sort of like start to fall in line with this dripping system of new things coming. Seems pretty quickly here, man. Like, yes. I don't know how we're going to keep up all this stuff. We might have to cancel all the vacation plans.
It's appreciated, though. Like, this to me is so much better than still waiting for version 7. Like, I'd rather just have this. I think, again, I said it many times, they overthink this stuff. Just release it, let us play with it, on to the next thing. You know, keep the hype cycle going. Because you see it way more now. Like, I feel like 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, before this got released, like it was kind of dying out on things like Twitter. Like, I wasn't seeing as much just Midjourney stuff.
I wasn't either.
And now it's just like right back in, bang, there we go. Because it's constant new stuff, and then everyone's testing it, everyone's playing with it, and it's not just like this giant release where everything gets lost. And it's like they just did it better. Is the way they should have done it.
Yeah, and we got a couple new things back into the fold. So Weird has been dropped in. We'll talk through that. I'm curious if you're still using that. Also, what was the other big one? Oh, Editor. Editor was the big one. So finally combine that into one place. Now there's a lot of different panels within that. They've sort of like reorganized that UI of that particular page too. I'm curious, as we dive into both of those. One, like, are you still using Weird? Is that still something that you'll go back to? And when are you going back to use it?
Just for fun. I mean, like, when you look at, we go back to that prompt from like a few weeks ago where it's like the work is mysterious and important. Like, that's a perfect one to use it on. I still contend that you get things with Weird that you never would get otherwise. It just has this weird, no pun intended, maybe pun intended.
Weird's weird.
Streak to it. And you get some, you do get some, it's like chaos. When you dial up to chaos and you never, you don't use it that often, like super high chaos. When you do, you just get things that you never get. So, creativity level, just max out. Just, if anyone hasn't played with Weird yet, by the way, it's just -- Weird. And the values are 0 to 3,000. So it's, you can go, it's a big range.
That was my next question, is if you've played with it enough yet since they've dropped it back in to know if that spectrum has changed at all in terms of like what you get back, right? Because that was one of those that was like especially weird in terms of the spectrum, right? Like you could throw Weird 3 in there and all of a sudden you've got like some really different stuff. You didn't have to dial it up super high. Like, have you seen a difference there, or have you played around with it enough to know? Or maybe that's something we dive into today. I don't know.
Yeah, we can definitely show it. I think Weird 1 through 10 is like where I live with it for certain things. But like when I want to get creative and just like see what it'll pump out, Weird. There's like diminishing returns. I've always found like up to about 1,500, it's good. And then like after that, like it doesn't get any weirder. Like 2,000 doesn't feel different than 1,000. 3,000 doesn't feel different than 2,000. But between 0 and like 1,500, it definitely is like, difference between Weird 100 and 400 is pretty weird. So it's good stuff. I mean, it's just fun. It's fun to just throw in there if you want to waste some hours and some generation time. Weird's a good parameter for that.
I'm thinking maybe we dial that up a little bit. I'm curious to see if that's changed at all, like in terms of, the spectrum itself. Like it's been a while since I've used Weird. But when I did, like, I think I used it almost always, definitely under 10, but a lot even under 5. Like, it was like 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, even just like sprinkling it in there would really break the mold on some things.
It's really useful as the piece of the whole analogy that we use all the time, where it's like, okay, if I dial up the Weird, it's not necessarily because I want that output image. You might just like a style, and then that's a style reference. Like that's how I look at it. Or, I want to go create like a mood board from something like that. It's a good way to just sort of like survey the Midjourney landscape and find, things that it can do that you just wouldn't ever think to prompt for. And I was running it like, I don't know, last night or the night before, just to like see how, just to like play with the parameter and see how the weighting was and like the sensitivity. And it felt pretty much exactly the same as it always has been. But I always like it for that. It's just like, oh, I can use this as an SREF now and use this on something else because it's not going to. Your control is not the thing you're doing with weird.
I
It's not
agree.
going to be a thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna run it for fun. So I'm gonna run the work is mysterious. Let's do this though. Like I do think maybe two things to keep in mind with this. One, this is a little bit of a broad, ambiguous term in general. So I don't know if this is the best prompt to run weird on in the variations. So I think what we might do is maybe run two separate prompts here. Let's run one that's like this, and then let's run one that's a little bit more specific. Yeah. That way we can kind of see what the difference is here. So let's run that. Maybe I'll just go back in time here. And let's see if I have anything like specific.
The nuns might actually be good because you might get some really interesting outcomes with people. I always find that the look gets significantly different.
So let's take this.
Sometimes if there's too much like environmental detail, like it becomes so surreal and weird that it doesn't even make sense. And sometimes I find it better with people because you get like a very unique look. That might be a good one.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe something like this actually. So let's take this off.
You back on the style raw game?
Yeah, I've been using style raw.
All right.
Yeah, let's do the same thing here. So we've kind of seen what 0 looks like. This is 0. Let's do like a 5. Let's do a 10. Let's do 100. Let's do 1,000, and then let's dial it all the way up. And run. Okay, and then let's go back to what we had here, right? So the work is mysterious.
Oh, it's got your profile on it, so it's going to stay fairly.
It
consistent.
does.
That's one.
It does.
That's one thing to note. Like when with weird in your profile, like it still stays pretty true to your profile. So if you take it off, you get like way more variety of outcomes.
Love that.
That's something that I've little not unlock, but just something that I was finding while I was doing it.
Yeah, that seems to. Well, let's see. Let's dial this up here.
Like if you go
25.
go back a few images there to that guy that was close up of the guy like that. That to me is like right there. Like I might take that and then use that as a style reference because that you weren't going for that, right? Like, but that's sort of like very cool to me, and I'm like, all right, let me play with that. I can go and sort of going back to our micro decisions episode. Where does this take me? Where does this lead me?
Yeah, I mean, like that's a great call out. I mean, you could use this as a jumping in point to a process, right? Because like you could find something that's a little bit out of the norm, and then to your point, use that as a image ref or a style ref or inspiration for where you're kind of headed with it. Now these are all still with the profile on though. I mean, these are getting a little bit weird. I mean, the question I would have is like, do you really want to use weird with profile off though?
Sometimes. Well, that's why I basically use it
personalization
as like
off. I mean,
yeah, I basically use it as like mining SREFs in the same way, where I'm like, I'm looking for something that I'm not able to prompt for, or I'm just testing Midjourney's sort of creative capability with it. Because some of these are great. Like some of the ones of him riding the horse, like you have a very different look to it. Like that one might not be what you were going for.
that one's pretty good.
Right, but it's something that's unique.
Well, and I like this because it is specific, and let's see how the weird sort of affects it here. So now we're getting into 100. It's really changing the coloring for sure in these images.
Like these
Look at that face, bro.
Yeah. You definitely get more of that.
Yeah, I mean, but they don't feel great. Like none of these are ones that I would actually pick. So let's do this. Let's take this same thing now. Let's take this off.
Yeah, turn your P code off. There you go.
And then let's run. All right, let's run the same thing here, just out of curiosity. Okay. So now here, this was what it really started to kind of get quote unquote weird here at this 100, somewhere between this 25 or this 10 and 100 here.
Mm-hmm.
Big difference. Kept a lot of the same. Like I noticed with my global on 7, which I don't love, but it's got a lot of like cyan and magenta.
Yeah.
Which I actually like the opposite. I like more of like the yellow and orange personally. Okay. But you see it's breaking the mold here. Like none of those have that same color profile there. Now this is without personalization on.
So your prompt is definitely dialed in because it's coming out very similar.
This is a very specific one.
Yeah. So that's how you know it's a good prompt. Because even with weird, it's not getting overly weird.
It's the only thing it's really changing is the face and the colors are completely different.
Yeah.
It's still kind of giving that same, yeah. Maybe let's try the work is mysterious one too.
Yeah, try that one
without
profile.
And let's run that.
Because this one should have varying outcomes.
So let's do a 5, 10. I'm going to do another stop in between here. Let's do like a 50, 100, 1,000. I'm not really seeing a huge difference still between 1,000 and 3,000. So let's just do that.
Yeah, that's typically it's between 1 and 1,000 to me is like the biggest differences, and then after that, like 1,500-ish. It's pretty much similar.
This is also where I think if you're going to go into this exploration mode of this entire thing, this is where aspect ratios start to come back and play too, especially with, well, just in general, but also with personalization off, right? You're going to get totally different results for the work is mysterious in general, but you're going to get even more different results when you vary those aspect ratios. So this is in a 4, what is this, 4, 5? So maybe you'll get more people in these versus if you were to do like a 16:9 or something like that, it might be different. So this is with weird 5.
See, it's interesting how it's interpreting it because I like some of these compositions too, and I'm like, oh, I could play with that. So I use it as like I said before, like a creative sort of outlet to play with sort of Midjourney's brain, see where it goes.
This could be a good this could be a good time to revisit that, right? Because like you just made me think of something which is interesting. What if you just kind of lock in something in between this broad spectrum and the very specific, where it's like, hey, you have a specific composition in mind. Mm-hmm. Let's add that, right? And then use the variable of weird to explore within it. Or let's add a certain lighting or shadow, or let's add a certain camera angle. Like lock into 1 or 2 components and then explore within that with weird too. Like,
yeah. Try this prompt real quick. Just try award-winning photo of an ancient warrior. And then this is what I was getting some real funky ones on last night.
You want a specific aspect ratio or style?
Yeah, let's go 4/5. That should work.
Okay, and then what about style? Are you do want
style it up a
personalization
little
on?
bit? Let's go like 500. No personalization, and then let's go weird.
Let's do a baseline. Let's do like
0. Do 100.
You don't want to do nothing between?
No, let's go a little bit higher, like into the 100. Let's do 500, 800, like 1,500. I was getting some really random results.
I want to add 1 in here. I want to see what 50 is between here.
Yeah.
Let's do this, okay?
Because I was running this last night and getting some really funky stuff.
Ancient Warrior, that's your jam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your weird feels different than my weird. I don't know why.
And no personalization on, so I don't.
It's so odd. Like these are way closer to an input. These are way like they're all fairly close.
But look at these. Even these colors remind me of kind of what I'm getting with V7, and it's not on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like with the personalization. I mean, sorry.
So where's that? That's 50. All right.
So here's
Now
50.
All right. Now we're getting like that one with the dude. Yeah, okay. Now we start getting a little bit weirder.
This is 500. Or no, this is 100.
So yeah, you start to get more variance in these. Like some of these are really interesting. You know, like you're not. This is the weird stuff that I'm talking about. Like that.
What?
That one. There you go.
What is that?
So you'll get some things that work, and then you'll get some things that are totally just out there.
Let's try one other thing. Now, I'm curious. Let's take this down to 2 variables. Let's take this down to like 10, and let's do 3 variables. 10, 100, and 500. Now I'm curious if we add chaos in here.
Yeah.
Let's stack this, right? And let's really see how this affects it too. So let's go with something like a 5. What do you think?
25 is a good
25?
25 is a good range, and then 50.
I think anything. You think? Okay. All right.
Go
So let's
50.
do that.
You get some crazy stuff with that.
Because this is the other component, right? Like you just brought this up, which was, okay, well now you're starting to get more variance too, which is true.
Mm-hmm.
So then it makes you think, okay, well then when would I use chaos? When would I use weird? What if I stack them? Is there a nice little balance of stacking those? So here's kind of, what is this? So let's start with, we've got a lot of variations here. This is chaos 5, weird 10.
Mm-hmm.
Again, staying with the award-winning photo of an ancient warrior.
This will stay, and like we'll get something like that. And that's, to me, if you go back to that one
This
with
is
the guy,
pretty good.
Yeah,
Like this little 510.
this close up right here. Like
I'll rerun that again.
I like that texture and that little painting on his face. Like I might play with that guy.
Yeah.
Like and I wasn't looking for that, but it sort of like brought me that way.
Like that. 25 and 10. So you got chaos 25, weird 10.
And if you're looking for control, these aren't the parameters.
Right.
But
so let's put this in a bubble real quick too. When would you want to use this? You know, like, so you mentioned sort of like maybe it's a style reference perspective. Maybe it's an image, like, so maybe it's like this image style reference portion. Mm-hmm. Are you thinking of this being used outside of that? If so, what comes to mind?
Not much. Honestly, it's like, to me, it's like the Midjourney playground, you know, where it's like, let's get away from the base model. Let's see what else it can produce. Because if you're looking for something unique, you're not going to just get it with just stylize and base model. Like, you're going to need to personalize, you're going to need to blend. I used to like doing this with multi-prompts also, when multi-prompts were still available. Because you get stuff like that. Like, I don't even know. Like, that's a great, you know, you start, okay, like I see what's going on here. Like, I can play with this. Or this next image this one, like, that's a cool composition. I'm like, I'm really like that. So I use this like my explore page almost. You know, like how you use the explore page. Like, I'll go in here and run weird and just see what it can come up with. Because high weird and high chaos, to me, is the most unique stuff that Midjourney produces. Like, it's just not, no one's prompting that way.
Well, and you know what? We could always, you know, you could take this one step further and use both. So you've got chaos, weird 10, and then you could say, okay, let me click the search within the search, right?
The other thing that's fun to do is run it through Describe. And then once you see like something that's totally out there and you're like, okay, what is Midjourney thinking with this one? You know, that one's probably going to be relatively simple in terms of like its analysis of it.
You know what? This is actually interesting. Like, is there a component of reverse engineering what Midjourney's thinking with these, right? Because we put in just award-winning photo of ancient warrior. That's it.
Yeah.
And then we dialed up just a little bit, chaos and weird. So then what are some similarities that we're taking from this, right? Like, it's identifying samurai in all these, for example.
Uh-huh. Portrait.
Canon. Yep. So, portrait. Like, it's sort of like attaching that to a close-up portrait. It's, you see Canon EOS R5 here a couple times, Canon EOS R6.
Like drop down. I was gonna say drop down to that one with the black and white dude. I just want to see if it like describes.
Which one?
Keep going. That one.
This one?
I just want to see how it describes the composition. If you describe it.
This is an interesting workflow.
Yeah. This is how I've come up with a lot of things in the past. So we have.
So again, close up. And let's look at these real quick. So a lot of these are close up.
Yeah. Very.
And this is without personalization on, right? So this isn't any influence of yours or mine here. I do a lot of portraits, so I'm actually surprised. Like, to me, this would be kind of what I would get. I would get a lot of close-ups by default. Close up.
Style of Helmut Newton.
and you've got that. You got him twice. You got Richard Avedon once, and then another guy, or Mario Testino. Interesting. Yeah, because there's the other thing that's fun with Weird is to run it on sref codes, because it'll really like start to, if you have like a fun sref code that's really you just like playing with it. It's not necessarily like you're going for anything other than playing with an sref code. Like then it becomes something that gets interesting, because it'll take your. Let's pick one. I just did a couple the other day.
It'll take that style and dial it up a lot.
Okay, so what do you want to do now?
Yeah, just prompt it and then throw the same prompt that you're using with the sref, and then throw the weird on it on the back end.
Okay. So yeah, we'll do a 0 just to kind of like show the baseline there. Let's do a 50. Let's do 100. Let's do a 500. And let's do 1,000.
Yeah, that works.
Have you done any of the sref stuff with 7 yet?
In what like
just like doing sref random unlocking codes?
Yeah, I've actually been getting some good ones lately.
I was gonna say
changed.
It's been hit or miss for me. Like when I first did it, like a couple days after, I wasn't getting anything good. Next time I did it, it was like all bangers. And then the last time I did was like kind of a mix. It was weird. Like the second time I did it, it was almost like every single one was really good. I was like, damn, okay.
I need Relax to come back with permutations, because like it's really annoying having to run everything in turbo. Just if I want to do something like random, like I don't want to keep hitting it a million times. Even
Here's
like I don't know if R10 works. That doesn't actually. I don't think like
that one's pretty dope.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
like it'll take it and make it something different. Like still have some sort of influence of the sref, but it'll take it and go in a different direction with it. Like that.
That's sick.
That one's a perfect example of weird to me. Like,
sick. Same.
What are you prompting to get there?
That's wild. Yeah, these are just the skull,
Yeah. And so you can find some things and you can then blend them in, use them as srefs, like that guy with the hat.
See, that's where it gets to me, where it's like, I want to blend srefs more, for example.
Mm-hmm.
It's not super easy to do it. And what I mean by that is it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
I got to go back and find codes, and then, like this whole sort of like box just gets so jumbled, because you're like, oh, what do I have on now? Like, am I using 6.1? Am I using 7? Do I have standard, raw, draft, standard? Am I using turbo? Am I in relax? Am I running permutations? Because now I got to make sure turbo's, like there's just so many things to think about. And, like that's what I liked about this, right? Is like you have this now up here really quickly. That's awesome.
Yes.
But then, man, like the sref thing does need to kind of get figured out. I wish there was a way to almost like quickly access the ones that you like the most, kind of like profiles in that sense. But then, like, I don't know, there's a real UI thing. You and I were just talking about that. But for me, I think the UI part of this is starting to get really, really hard, especially for people that aren't using this all the time. And I think people that are, it's just very cumbersome. It's just a lot of things happening.
Do you have an sref folder? Like, do you generate within the folder for your sref randoms?
Do I generate within the folder for sref randoms? No, I don't.
So that's been like my biggest sort of like revelation is generating within the folders. So like I just made a folder like in that top right corner.
Yeah.
And you just, you create a folder for sref random and then you just go into the folder and then just generate sref random. So they're all it's just one folder of that's it.
Oh,
So
yeah. Yeah. Okay. But I mean like blending srefs, right? Like getting into the things that you like to access the codes that you like. Because
That's
like
tough.
that to me is not a problem. Like the sref random thing's not a problem because I do it differently in the sense that I'll just do sref random and then I'll go through basically each set, and the srefs that I like, I'll just like one within that grid of 4. And that way, anytime I want to go back to the different srefs that I like, I've got them all here.
That's it. See,
So it's just a different way. But I mean, like when you get into like blending, I think you do this more than me, and I know other people do more than me in terms of like blending 2, 3, 4 sref codes together. I'm just saying that part of it gets very cumbersome and hard to like piece together the ones that you like, unless you're using the same ones over and over again. It's too hard to access them.
It is. I do find myself defaulting to the ones that I really
feel like this is like a Rory special right here.
Of course. Anything that's just got a lot of chaos in it.
Like this is like graffiti on here. This is like nothing. This is an interesting code. Might need to play with that. But like these are ones I haven't even played with. These were some of the ones from V7 though.
Yeah, it's
that
like
I wanted to explore further.
The juxtaposing stuff is where I like to live, like especially where it's like photorealism and then art. Like photorealism and doodles, photorealism and 3D, like blending those two, something that's dark, something that's bright, something that's that to me is where the magic happens because it balances itself well instead of trying to like clash.
Yeah.
If you have two super photorealistic styles and then it's like trying to clash, it doesn't like come out the way you want to. But if you blend like something that's like sketch work and then something that's super photorealistic, like they blend well. Because there's different pieces to take from them, but I found like 20 of them that I liked over the weekend. I probably ran like 60, and I was like, oh,
it's a pretty good hit rate.
I know. I was like, this is because normally it's like 5.
Yeah, I know. Like you run the R40, it's like, oh, you maybe get 3 or 4 out of there that you're like, oh, this is cool.
There definitely been. I don't know if they've been working on it in the background. But some of them felt like more V7 looking. You know how V7's got like this way different look to it than V6?
Yes.
Yeah.
The sref codes look different.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just applying V7.
No, I was thinking
SRF
the same
codes.
thing though. I was actually thinking that exact same thing. I was like the something about the application of the sref code just looked a little bit higher tier.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the image itself.
Exactly. Have you ever tried to just like put in a random number? Like SREF, like
I have
34, 29.
Well, so what I was doing like when they first came out is I remember they mentioned it was like 4 billion or something. So I was like hitting all the like the milestone ones. I would go through and hit like SREF 1 million, SREF 2 million, or 2 billion, 2 billion, like all those kind of numbers, just to kind of see if there was anything like an Easter egg in there. There wasn't, from what I remember, but it was worth a shot. You know what? I'm wondering if we should talk about this editor. Like, this has been interesting, and I'm going to defer to you a little bit on this. I have a feeling you've played with this more than I have to this point.
Yeah.
This is so. I'll kind of lay the foundation, and then I'm going to tee this off to you, and just kind of would love to hear your perspective on it so far. So, long story short, right? You had editor, you had the full editor. I think, and maybe you and I just didn't know this, but the full editor, I think, was limited to a certain tier, and now that's available to everyone. I kind of forgot about that. You and I are on the large plan. We're paying a shit ton of money, so whatever. But now this is combined into one place. I always thought that was a little bit rough around the edges to have to access those two things in different places, right? And then there was the component of, okay, edit, retexture. There's a lot going on here to keep track of whether you're an edit or a retexture, and then you couldn't see the results from here unless you went into this folder, or you upscaled it and then it would appear in your folder, right? So there was just a lot of things happening here. Now you've got all this in one place, right? So you've got edit retexture, you've got suggest prompt in this little icon here, move resize, right? So this is your scale, this is your aspect ratio, this is your paint, right? Just like before. Now you've got smart select in here too, which was that last feature they dropped in, Rory. And then here's like the other part of this, the layers,
Layers.
right? This is where you can add an additional photo to this. And this is the workflow I haven't really played with yet. So I'd love to hear if you have.
Yeah.
But what do you think of this? Any takeaways so far?
I think
What
it's
do
a
you
good
think?
starting point. Starting point. Like I think they could probably make this a little bit cleaner in certain areas. Like the layers thing gets a little clunky when you're just maneuvering it, but it's fun to play with because the thing that you need to, if you're going to use the layers, it's almost like you have to use layers in conjunction with retexture to like smooth it all out, because you can blend things together, which is fine. Like it'll work. And then, if you're going to use a layer, like if you're just going to add something here, like add the brain, right? The one thing here that I don't like is like, say you wanted to put that brain on say you want to like maneuver that brain on top of the skull, right? Like to make it fit the dimensions of the skull. Like if you want to okay, yeah. So you can't rotate it.
Yeah, you can't rotate it. That's right.
So like that to me is something that's simple that would help. Is just being able to rotate that, or drop the opacity on it or something. I know that like this isn't a big thing for them. Like I don't really. I'm just thinking in terms of Photoshop. But like if you want to do like the Smart Select feature, to me has been really easy and nice. Like if you just go to Smart Select, right?
Okay.
Smart Select, and then include, and then just like click on the brain, like the brain itself. Now, if you do erase background, it'll isolate it. So there you go. Like,
there you go.
It's so
You're just going to
so
let me
easy
waste my
there.
time brushing around the brain, huh?
I tried to catch you before you started doing that.
Love it.
Yeah, because that's like, something that's super easy. If you did the other way around, right? If you just hit the little back button, hit the, the undo up top left, under
okay,
edit.
gotcha.
Yeah. Now, if you hit, erase selection, then it'll take that out and you can keep the background. So you can take people out, put people in. That was a little less, what's the word I'm looking for? It was a little more confusing in the last iteration of this, Smart Select. But they made that very easy, because then you can start to stack these layers. And then like, let's just say if you go, or let's just do, erase background again on this. Right, and then just erase background. Great. Now, if you're just gonna go hit generate here, like you're not gonna not much is gonna change. It's gonna paste that thing in.
Yeah, yeah. And then to your point, now you're going to have to go and put a
Retexture
style or something on it so it blends together, right?
Yeah. So if you did that, like if you went and then if you go to retexture now, and then I don't know, dial up the style weight maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say, do I need to go ahead? Do I need to reapply this? Let's try it once without, and then let's try once with dialing this up. So SW 100 by default. Let's try like a 250. Let's try on the reverse end of that. Let's try like a 50, just to kind of see the effect here. Okay, so this is the 100. So you don't have to, like by default, you could just hit submit and it's going to apply that.
Yeah. So it didn't even apply the brain in this, which is why I found it to be a little bit. There, it added it like a flower. You might have to prompt for this in the style prompt in the text.
True.
Prompt.
Right. So like maybe what we do is this.
Yeah.
Suggest a prompt.
Cartoon one. You might want to use the original. If you go to the this is where it gets confusing, right? Is that sometimes you're just selecting like different. You're like, oh, let me edit this, but it's not the thing you want to edit. Because you'll edit one of the actual variations instead of the actual image that you input.
Oh, so see, this is given the interesting. This is giving the suggest prompt just on the brain too. So I might have to do this. Well, I can't click both, can I? I might have to click this, and then let's see if this changes it, right?
Let's see.
Yes, it does. Okay. So now with that in mind, though, is this going to carry that layer over because it's not selected? Let's put... See, and now we lost our sref code, too. So this is where
it gets
it's
difficult.
This is where it's like a little bit clunky. Let's just go ahead and submit that. Then
Because without any reference to the brain, it might not
well,
have
it does.
anything, right?
It did carry the brain over here.
Let's see.
But there's no call out of it, right? So it didn't like apply it heavily, but you could kind of see this here. That's it. 1 out of 4.
Try one of the instead of the initial image, try one of the variations where the brain is in, like down one. Yeah, like click that, like use that one, and then use the suggest prompt on this. And let's see what it does. Skeleton.
Okay,
Nope,
so
got a
glowing
brain.
So like, let's take pink out. Let's just do a glowing brain. Or if we don't want glow, yeah, we'll leave glowing in there. Submit retexture.
And then we'll see what we got here.
So this is where it's like you get no video, right? Like nothing from Midjourney explaining exactly all the variables that exist in here. So this is where it's like, unless you're listening to something like this or you're going around and spending the time doing this, you have no guide, right?
Yeah.
Like this is where it's just like, well, okay, I got to figure this thing out. There it is.
So that's you get the brain in this one at least, right?
Yep.
And that's where having the little rotate feature could be nice. I mean, I don't need opacity or anything else. Just like having like a rotate feature for something. Because I was playing around with like collages. That's what I was doing. Just like stacking. Like how people do those like cinematic stacks where it's like 3 shots. And I was just like, oh, let me put these in there, and I'll erase some of the edges, and then I'll like throw in a style code to make it look like it's so it's designed instead of just like 3 boxes, right?
Yep.
Like, simple things like that. As I was playing with the layers, I was also doing some. Like, oh, here's a landscape, and let me put this, this giant creature in here, and like sort of like let's blend both of them together. So let's take this creature, let's take this landscape. I'll cut the creature out, put that in there, and then like retexture it all so it looks the same. And it's I'm not going to use this thing for editing that much in its current form, I don't think, but it's nice to have it. Like, I don't think it's like groundbreaking in terms of what it can do, but I do like having the optionality to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I haven't, never really like loved
It's clunky.
Retexture. Yeah. Retexture's good. It's not great. I'm not using it for that though, but it's not.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like this is the other part, right? Where it's like, you got to make sure you're on edit, not retexture, even if you're resizing, right? Because the first time I ran it, I was just still in the retexture tab. Yeah. And then here we go. Okay, no, that's not what I want. I actually wanted to expand it with the same thing. Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, the retexture thing, it's got its place.
Yeah.
Some of the things are better than others.
I think this was just like an appeasement, or it's like you want to add something in. So this was, hold on, let me share this the other day. This was what I was doing. This was still a little unlock with this. I don't want to say unlock, but it's a, let me see if I can find it here. Like this was what I was enjoying it for. I wasn't really doing anything crazy with it, but having the smart selection feature in there makes it so much better for things like this, where I was going and doing, this is just not gonna, hold on, maybe, there, like something like this, where I was just taking the shoes out of an image, right? Like, oh, and then instead of it just being a, product shot, right? I was like, oh, let me add some feet to it. So you can then change from like iteration here. Like this, just taking the shoes, putting them on different people. Like that was a really simple one. That this is where, I got screwy. But this was interesting, and I found that I tried V6.1, like a difference, same image, right? V6.1 did so much better with this in the editor feature.
Yeah,
this was V7.
you can tell. Yeah.
V7's like way too much. And I don't have profile on or anything here, but V6 one's just more coherent to sort of like the idea that I was going with. But you can probably put a product in here, remove
That's
the
probably
background.
that's probably where it's like one of those things with this mood board stuff where it's like they're using probably the 6.1 engine or whatever the hell you want to call it temporarily until they kind of finalize the specific version for V7. That's what it kind of feels like, right? Because you could tell, to your point, it feels a bit broken or disconnected compared to 6.1. You could tell this thing, this
V7.
feature was built for 6.1, right?
Yeah.
Just based on the results that you're getting here.
V7, V6.1. Like there's a big difference there. Same prompt, nothing different, just V6, V7, right?
I like the smart select idea too for an object replacement.
It's simple because it does like the thing that it did here without prompting. I didn't have the mood board on that I used to create these shoes, right? Is that it took the style of the shoes and then matched the entire image. So like it took that smoky blue from my atoll mood board.
And was that with any kind of style reference or mood board on when you did that? No.
No. This one, when I created this initial image, it had it was just like a pair of sneakers in like an environment. So I just erased the environment and then I put it in here and it mimicked sort of this look and feel without having a mood board attached to it, which was nice.
Which is interesting. I'm surprised it did that well. Like it just took that shoe color style, applied the entire aesthetic across the image to a cool image.
And then like it took like I liked how it took the paint splatter on
applied
the
it to
sole of the shoe and sort of applied it here. Like that's a creative use of it.
Yeah, it
like
is.
this one. The good thing about it is because it nails the shadows, right? Like it nails the shadows around here. Like you have the shadow, underneath him. This guy is shadowed appropriately. The lighting is appropriate. This one here, same thing. You have the shadows that come through here based on sort of where the light is. Everything's consistent. It took this sort of gritty texture. Like I like how it just added this guy's jacket, and sort of matched the color of the shoes. Same thing here. Like you get the shadow of him and the shadow of the shoes, considering there's nothing there to start with. So, that in Photoshop alone would have been insane to do something like that. Like we look at it and criticize it for some of this stuff, but like to do this in general from here to here is wild. And like, some of this stuff might be a little bit inconsistent in the shadowing, but realistically, like it works. So I was impressed with that using 6.1. So maybe, sometimes just a little tip, maybe 7's not the best with editing just yet. I think this one was 6. This was 7. This one sort of got
that one. You can feel like the
screwed up.
quality of the image itself feels like 7, but like the structure and composition, like the whole, his legs are just
It's off.
shattered, like they're just, they kind of wreck it. But the rest of the image is really clean,
It's also
crisp.
tough with how close the shoes are, right? Like it has to sort of fit the legs
It does.
physically
It
to
does.
fit there. So that might not be the best example. This one.
And that's also where, what's interesting there is I wonder if you change the aspect ratio, if that's going to help you out.
In this one?
Yeah. Because to your point, where those legs are, Midjourney kind of does this. Like it should kind of act as if the aspect ratio isn't a barrier in that sense, and it should just proportionately put the legs up, even no matter where the crop is.
Yeah.
But Midjourney kind of has a tendency to almost like want to fit the crop slightly. And I'm just wondering if you were to take that, put it into like a 3/4, even like a 9/16,
Let's run this.
how better those legs get.
Submit. B6.1. Let's run this.
And also, you know what I see, like you'll never see shoes that size usually in a 3/4
Yeah.
unless you were prompting like a close up, like extreme close up angle of shoes, and you've specified it in the prompt that you like the crop comes up to the waist or the knees, or you know what I mean? Like it's product photography or something. And so that gets into one of those areas where it's a little bit. This is a tough ask, I think, for Midjourney, but let's kind of see what happens.
Nailed it there. I mean, like, that's a little weird physics there. I think that looks pretty good. This is V7.
It's like that feels like a wide angle lens maybe, so that could work
one.
like that. Curious about the standing up.
Let's see.
Like that
Legs look
fits
weird.
better.
Yeah, but the
It's
legs
not
are like bent
perfect.
backwards.
Yeah.
This one, weird composition. This one, weird composition. I also probably have standing. Oh no, I have standing on a wet street. So, like that one works definitely.
What if you put in instead of lifestyle, what if you put in product photography?
See here, 916. This looks better already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So aspect ratio could be that looks stiff. That looks a little more natural.
Yep.
This one definitely looks a little bit more natural. Let's see, 7. 7 just wants him to sit, but the quality on this is really good. Like there's a lot of stuff going on there. Quality.
Also, lifestyle tends to put in a person. They want to see a person in the frame.
Yeah.
That's why I'm thinking if you switch out lifestyle for product, I'm wondering how different the results are.
Product photography. Let's do submit edit. Let's do V6.1. Let's see. So we have our 9x6. So this is, you can do this with a lot of other products. It doesn't have to be sneakers.
Right.
Right. Let's see. Is this one? Oh, we did this one.
And again, I think this is probably one of the harder asks because of the shoe size and where it's at.
Yeah. This is difficult. There, see, it's like just when... That's probably why I was doing lifestyle, because when I was saying product, it was adding a shoe. That one. So 6.1, again, a little bit more consistent in terms of what we're looking for. To the product. And then, yeah, I mean, I'd say 6.1 to me is more consistent. You might be able to then sort of like retexture it if you want to. Like, let's just see if I want to. Let's see, like one of these. Like maybe let's retexture this with V7 and P. See how that works. See if that gives it a better, interesting aesthetic, or if it just sort of mutes everything. Sometimes retexture sort of like mutes everything for me. I don't know if that's the same for you. Like you lose a lot of detail.
Well, you know what? I always, if I'm going to use retexture, I almost always use an SREF for like either it's a code or an SREF.
Like this, like like these actually look pretty decent.
Yeah.
Like I like it. It's not the same color scheme, but I'd probably just have to add the mood board back in there. So
then you could take that one with that I like that furthest from the left. Do the all left one.
Or
all
this
the way
one?
to the left. Yeah, like I like there's like a little graffiti in the check.
Yeah.
Then if you were to apply any SREF, whether it's an image or a code,
Let's see.
I bet it would crush.
Let's try first. Let's try. All right, maybe this is a fun one to play with. We'll add this, and then I'll add. Let's see. Let's see how we do here.
Now this is mood boards though, so I wonder how that's going to affect the quality too. Because the mood board stuff's still a little bit.
So I gave it a tough task there, because if I go and instead of this one, let's go with the cosmic. I'll start with this one. Do that. Let's try this one. Let's do this one. That, okay.
Go back and take one of your SREF codes that you just unlocked too that you like and apply that.
All right, let's see.
Because I think that'll probably give the best result.
Actually, let's just go in here. Get off.
Or take any of those images and just apply it as a SREF image.
Let's see where the SRF codes. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's try this one. See if this one's good. SRF will copy this. Let's go back to edit. And then we'll just add this one in here instead. Turn P off, submit edit. No changes. Oh, it went to edit instead of retexture.
There you go.
There you go. There it is. All right, so let's see what we got here. This one.
And then this is where you could apply the S weight, right? So you can play style weight to this and really dial it in.
So here was our little gritty neon. I'd play with that.
Yeah.
I'd screw with that one. That's not bad. So it's applying the mood board pretty well here. This one, my darker profile, it's definitely really dark. Not bad. This one has like all the elements of retexture. Not bad with the mood boards on V7. Like it's applying the style appropriately. This one, I wonder if we do one more. Let me find my Pope images here. I think the Pope actually just passed away today, or at least overnight or something like that.
Oh, really?
I think so. I think that happened. Where, let's see, because there was a really fun one like this.
You're right.
R.I.P. to a wonderful piece of art.
He waited. He
And
waited till the day
wonderful man.
after Easter.
Yes. Did he make it? It's like very karmic. Not karmic. What's the word I'm looking for? It's like serendipitous on Easter. But here's the. Let's see. I gotta go back to edit. See, this is where even we get a little screwy. Let's try this. Let's do this one on the. Of course, I didn't do the retexture. Submit retexture. This one's got a fun little lifestyle / doodle component to it. And we'll see how this one comes out. Oop.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, I mean, yeah, you look at the difference in adding mood boards. It definitely works in retexture, but I think that this was interesting to sort of go through because you can apply this in many different ways for a lot of different. It's not going to probably work with a bunch of things that have a bunch of text on it, but you know, if you had like a credit card, like I'm just using that as an example because it's pretty simple, right? You have like a credit card image, you can just like throw that in there. It's like generate backgrounds into infinity. You have a mug, something like that. You can do, these simple things that can be super useful in terms of assets. Most likely. That's just my feeling on it.
Yeah.
But let me stop sharing here.
Yeah. So, I mean, so we went into Weird, we went into Editor, like deep dive. I think Weird is worth re-exploring again. Editor, the full editor, it's nice that they're all together. It's nice that everybody has access in terms of the layers themselves. That part of it feels like there could be more tight, like consistent, customizable process that exists there still, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm sure you can do great things in there. It's just like, do you want to spend the time to go about it that way, or would you rather do it a different way? Right. Which is what we're all talking about in Midjourney anyway. There's always this line of this makes sense to do here and it's fun to do here versus like, can you do it here? Yeah. But is it actually worth doing it?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's where I'm just like, I like having it. I don't necessarily think I need them to focus on it personally.
Right,
I think,
right.
it's like, do I need them to have a rotate button? No, I'll just do this a different way. I'll just, do that in Photoshop or Figma and then bring it back in there and just retexture it instead of trying to like screw around. Right. So
100%.
These are the little things that are going to keep dripping out though, that are just going to keep like, it's not going to be like life shattering updates, but something to see what we can, play with and start to layer in and feel out how it works. So it's good that I don't have to worry about this and the whole V7 at the same time.
Yeah, agree. And there's a lot of other stuff here. Like I'm wondering if we just kind of go through these notes to kind of wrap this up, like in terms of office hours, because there was a lot buried in there. I'll just kind of like read through some things. You tell me what you want to kind of focus on, whatever pops out. I do think this is probably worth it. Quality Q4 coming into the fold. We haven't had a Q4 in a long time.
It was like V5 or 4, maybe.
Yeah. So this is under active experimentation, but it's the idea that you're going to get higher quality for slower renders.
Yep.
This has got our names on it because I don't care about. I would rather have the top tier quality and wait a day for it, hypothetically, than get something that's half as good that I get instantly.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like one of those things where when Q4 drops, that feels like something you're going to want to play with. Probably going to get all the micro contrast, tonal contrast, detail, structure, sharpness that you could ask for. So that's on the horizon. Now they're playing around with some things with obviously character reference, like that whole omni reference thing still feels like that's a couple weeks away. There was a point here about SREF, super SREF. Plans to develop a significantly improved super SREF system. What do you think that means?
Don't even know. But I like it because SREF's to me like the best thing that Midjourney has. Like it's so good, so much better than most of the other tools. Like I think if there was like a differentiating factor outside of creativity and just like visual explosion, it's like SREF to me is just better than every other SREF.
I feel that.
Yeah, like the biggest gap in terms of like where the next tool is and what you're able to do with it. Because most tools you can't blend. Like Gemini just released blending styles, right? Like Midjourney, what was it, a year ago almost? Probably you could do that. So it was like take these two styles and then sort of mash them together. Like yeah, you can image prompt them, but not like style plus prompt plus control and then apply both. So I think still to me my favorite sort of big differentiator versus all the other things. But it's just me, man. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I do too. Like I don't know what it means.
Yeah,
I still would like a library of some sorts. Like so, kind of what we were talking about. It'd be nice to have some sort of organization or library of SREF codes that you like and use. Now there are a couple ways that you could go about doing it right now, right? Like going back to that folder system that you talked about, you could essentially set up folders specific to SREF codes. You know, like so if you've got 5 to 10 that you like to use, you could take the time to set up specific folders for those, right? And then with that folder integration that they launched too, prompt within those folders so everything kind of stays tight. But I mean, like in terms of like grabbing them and applying them and infusing those into the prompt box, that part of it could be easier. It would also be cool to have some sort of like maybe searchable SREF library, right? Like based on style. Like so you know, those third-party sites that exist, right? Like they've got a bunch of things that people have unlocked. It'd be cool to like go through and say, okay, I want to go into this kind of style and look for SREF codes relative to this. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe just an SREF explore page. Like just add it instead of like, you know, just top, hot, whatever, and then just have like SREF category. And then it's just all people that are generating with codes. Like that's
like that.
It's easy. Like I'm sure it's a filter. You know, if you're putting SREF random in, right? Just like whenever someone hits it random, like upload it to the thing, and then we can just sort of scroll like our own dedicated SREF code feed. To me, it doesn't seem hard to develop that, but it's to me that's like a good first step in terms of it, because then it becomes just like, all right, let's go in there and find, let's go find stuff, because a lot of stuff you think on the Explore page is going to have SREF codes, it doesn't.
That's true too.
Yeah.
The other thing they mentioned was a lot of just, again, like going back to this improvement in the model that just takes place over time. Improved prompt accuracy, anatomy, artifact reduction, a more aggressive aesthetic update pending user feedback. I don't know what aggressive means, but I hope it has something to do with moderation, because I've been getting flagged a mug lately, and I'm just worried that like all of a sudden I'm going to be locked out of my account because I use the word skin or something, and it's just like, yo, I'm just trying to, like, I was trying to do something with like a girl biting a match. And like just the way that I was trying to describe it, and then using my tool to describe it, it was like it wanted to throw things in like provocative or skin, and all of a sudden I'm just like getting flagged. Like I can't even generate the image. Definitely can't use it as an image reference in some of these cases too. So that part of it, that could be improved. They mentioned something about a creative mode, Rory.
Yeah. Interesting.
Considering introduction of a new quote unquote creative mode if necessary for increased user control without excessive sliders.
So maybe they're taking your feedback there. They don't maybe it's just like more focus on the text prompt, maybe less, which sounds the opposite of creative mode, but I'm
not
it does, sure
right?
I think about that. I like
for
it.
increased user control. So increased control, but creative. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting dynamic there. I don't know how that works. We don't have many details. This is just off sournote, guys. So we're taking guesses.
Yeah. We missed the context for everyone that needs context. We missed the call last week, or at least I did.
I only caught a few minutes. Yeah.
So we're missing context. We're just totally riffing on this right now from a from a Discord post.
We are a new ultra fast draft mode. So, I mean, it was already fast. Don't really care too much about that. Let's see. Exploring innovative real-time user interfaces enabled by instant speed models. Good aesthetics maintained despite ultra-fast generation. Okay. Video, they dropped a video update. So video model training completion expected by the end of the month. So what was that, like 2 weeks away?
Yeah.
Tuning and release in 1 to 2 months. If you don't have any hiccups.
Later. Yeah, let's expect that in like August or September probably. Maybe.
I would rather wait it and let it be extraordinary. You know,
just don't need to ruin a good thing right now. Like V7 is hype. They don't need to. They got the unnecessary blowback for V7 because people were just like, again, it's just such quick hitter reactions that don't know anything about the tool. It's just like it's a brand new architecture. You have to figure it out, not just.
It was a perfect storm. You had the long wait for V7. Then you had ChatGPT dropping their image gen update. Like, what was that? A couple days, a week before. And then you had that, right? Like just the expected instant reaction from people that probably put in a few prompts, didn't get what they want, right? Okay, well, did you rank enough images? Did you explore enough with all the different variables, right? Because now, again, does weird mean the same thing? Does stylized mean the same thing? Do aspect ratios render the same kind of image? You know, like all of those different things you have to sort of like reassess. And there wasn't that happening.
And it's the other thing too with that, right, is just like I've seen, you know, to people's point, I don't want to rank 1,000 images. It's like I get that. That's fair.
That is fair.
Do you want the best experience with the tool that can do probably the most variety of things? Like, you know, it's just like sometimes you got to make a little sacrifice depending on, and I can totally understand why people be like, I'm not doing that. You know, it's just like that's a non-starter for me because I don't feel like wasting time. And I think fine, like they can, you know, you can use other tools on, but it's, to me, that's like you put your time in there and you get what you need. So it's just like, again, I get so turned off by everyone that just like dumps or it's just like the hot take of hopscotch, like, oh, this is dead. No,
I was just about to say, I'm so tired of that. Oh God.
So
Midjourney is dead. R.I.P. Midjourney. R.I.P. Photoshop. You know, like I saw that one the other day. I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like you're literally just engagement farming. There's no, you tell me you don't believe this, and please tell me not, because otherwise I'm just gonna like absolutely clown you, because that is just ridiculous to make a statement like
Photoshop? When people say that, I'm like, I don't know if you ever used it.
You probably not, because you would know there are a million different things that you could do in there. Yeah. Some of these things are now making themselves over to something like Midjourney where you can't accomplish these things. Again, though, it kind of comes down to, well, are you already, did you build that muscle using Photoshop? There's a stickiness there that would have to take place, right? For some folks to then move away and go to a different product and use that same thing with a different tool. Like that's still a thing. The adoption. Anyway, we kind of know what that is, but
been trying to get off Photoshop for 10 years. I still can't. You know, like I want every reason to not pay for.
It's
an
still
Adobe
in the dock.
subscription.
It's still in your dock at the bottom.
Yep.
Right.
It just like I can't get rid of it because it still can do things that no other tool can do. So like, it doesn't matter to me. Like they don't need to be number one in AI. They still have very good functionality based on what they can do. So Adobe, shout out. Still a customer. Don't hate you guys. Do hate you guys sometimes, but
also like they have their pockets are deep. You know, like they're working on stuff. They're going to be fine. Photoshop's not going anywhere for the foreseeable future.
They have too many products. I think that's their problem.
I agree. That's always the case when you get to these like big companies is instead of it being just like very tight and succinct and you know what it is and like just focusing on consistency and quality. They just expanded. And that's kind of like the problem with this VC or public model anyway. It's just like they want more revenue, more products to get the revenue, expansion on the products to get the revenue.
It's like you look at it from just like a purely logical standpoint. It's like, how can Adobe keep up in AI when they have like 50 products and 50 products that have 10,000 uses each and like 10,000 functions? It's like, how are they going to do that? It's just so much. It's different than like Figma, where it's like Figma has one product and they have like 3 different things you can do in there.
Yeah.
It's like FigJam, it's the design files, and it's a slide deck. Like, that's it. It's not InDesign, Illustrator, Photoshop, Premiere, After Effects, Lightroom. And all those have a million functions. So,
and then there's like 10 that you're not even thinking about. That
I know, there's a million. Yeah. Those are just the ones that I use, right? And then it's like, yeah, you have all these products, but not even to mention the features that you then have to integrate. It's like Midjourney now, like trying to get to a new model because they have all the parameters, all the different functionalities. Versus
and now you got to bring all that
Reeve.
stuff over. Yeah.
And like Reeve is just like, everyone's like, it's awesome. Yeah, it's good, but it only has to do text to image right now.
But are you also hearing about Reeve like you were a couple weeks ago?
Nope. ChatGPT sort of stole a lot of that.
And so then it's like,
Midjourney.
there's nothing wrong with Reeve. Like, in fact, it was like, that was one that if I had more time, I would love to spend more time there. But you're not hearing about it.
Really good.
Like there's the staying power of being early and being the muscle that people have sort of like built over time. And that's with like ChatGPT. It's like, is ChatGPT still the best model? I have no clue. I don't even keep up with the benchmarking or what's going on anymore. I just use it. It's there, right? It's what I use. It's the daily driver. Same with Midjourney. Like, I think ChatGPT is sort of, that whole image gen has changed some things that I would maybe thought about using Midjourney for in some cases, right? And I think it's stolen some market share away from some other places too, like a Photoshop. Like, I mean, the ability to go into a thumbnail, for example, or image and take something that's in the background, isolate that as like its own image. What? Like, that's crazy. That's crazy stuff.
That sketch to image stuff to me is still nuts. Like,
sketch to
it
image
works
stuff
so well.
Yeah.
We were using like ControlNet before, where your sketch had to be good too. Like, it couldn't just be like general idea.
Yeah,
I mean, it could be, but like this one just works. Takes your direction and sort of like has a creative level to it as well. So that's what again, Reeve, really good image quality. I like it. I'm not going to use it every day. I might use it for certain things, but like I think you what you gain in sort of that good look, you can also get it in Midjourney now, and then play around with it a million different ways. There's only so many things you can do.
Well, I think we're all looking for. We've talked about it a lot, but we're all looking for those. Instead of the 20 tools, we're looking for the 3 tools. Mm-hmm. And so the ones that start to bring these things into one place are going to, accompanied with, right? Like, again, like the adoption, are going to win. Like, the fact that ChatGPT was already a place that you were going to show up, and how many people are using it, like an insane number of people are using it, 500 million or something. It's like, okay, to then bring in some sort of like image gen component that's reasonably good, that's a huge lift. Reeve, on the other hand, could be really, really good, but what else does it have? Like, it's just another tool that I have to go to. And then how am I going to separate that in my mind from using that versus Midjourney? Mm-hmm. That versus runway frames, or that versus image gen, or whatever the tool is. So, like at the same time, it's like, who's going to win the video part of that too? Because video, like if you could bring video into, let's just say hypothetically, like the ChatGPT or OpenAI had Sora, but it feels like very disconnected as a part of the workflow compared to the other things. Maybe that's just because maybe that's just to me. I don't know, but like it feels different than the image gen part of it does. That's now baked in. It's right there. It's Midjourney. If Midjourney launches a good video model, I'm probably not using any other video model. Maybe I'll have the circumstances where, like Runway's good for this or Kling's good for that still. Like that could exist, and maybe that's temporary. But like the ability to bring that into a tool I'm already using going to use that. So that's where this is interesting, this kind of like fight for market share.
Here's a tool that I'm going to show it because I think it's awesome. I've been playing with it
Which
more and
tool?
more recently. It's called Flora.
Okay.
But it's for basically if you are building workflows or trying to do things, a little bit more systematized. Like it's great. Like this is what I was playing around with yesterday, which I found to be awesome, which was it has Gemini 2.0, which can now take images and blend them together. So like this multi-character, so I can basically upload an image, and then I have them run in like node-based fashion into the same like, so I have a multi-image reference, and then Gemini will produce with both of them in the picture, right? So you can have multi-character, and then with Gemini you can also then iterate, right? So I can take it and then get different scenes for this shot type, or for this for these two characters, right? I can get the over the shoulder looking at her, over her shoulder looking at him, and get the burger that matches the table, like the table here, it's going to match the table here. So to me, this is great because then you can basically build a storyboard and then add video. So it's a pretty awesome sort of experience in here. Like I did this with a bunch of with a bunch of the car stuff where it's like, all right, let me feed this Midjourney image in here and then have it create different angles, right? Like I did this a while back, thought this was awesome. This is like the new stuff that I was playing with, which was great. Just like taking the shoes from before, right? And then saying I want to put them on this guy. And then we start there, and then you can, begin to iterate your product shots. So this is what I'm hoping Omni Reference starts to look like, right? Even something like this, you can add an LLM into the mix where it's like, let me take this shot, describe the composition that I want, and then like run that in to an image generator in Gemini 2.0 with this as a reference image and sort of like take this composition and put those shoes in it, right? So that's like, there's a lot of stuff you can do in here, especially if you have some workflows sort of dialed in already. Like this one was just a basic, describe this and then attach this and then basically generate this. So it's cool, man. Like I've been playing around with it a lot as of recent to see where I can go with it. But I think like this whole node-based sort of experience, bringing everything into one workspace is nice. And I think it's like fun to play with, especially if you're doing this stuff all day, every day, like we are.
Yeah, there's some interesting things there. I mean, okay, so a couple different things. One, curious to see, to your point, Omni reference drops, character reference, right? Like, then again, if that happens in a good enough way, you probably won't use that.
Yeah.
Right? But here's the interesting thing, though. I really like that cohesive workflow of the image to the video right there.
Yeah.
So then that gets me thinking, what's that experience like for Midjourney? Could you then take, what was that
Patchwork.
tool? Patchwork.
This is what Patchwork should
Could you
look
take
like.
Patchwork and apply that like some version of that into this, right? Where maybe you give people two different options to play with. There's the existing UI that you have, right? Where everything kind of goes into create, and then you can switch from maybe photo to video and blah, 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 blah. Maybe there's a way to tag and, kind of like consolidate these things into a project-based sort of like organization or file. Maybe there's also a patchwork style canvas like you just showed, right? That could apply here. And they've kind of built Patchwork already. Again, I don't know how great it is because I haven't seen it since they soft launched it, and I never saw it again. But like, if you've already kind of built out the infrastructure for that tool, couldn't you maybe apply that in that sense to get that kind of workflow where you can visualize stills to animation really quickly without having to change tabs? Because I think like when you start to change tabs, right, just ADHD brain, like you're kind of like, you lose focus of what's in front of you.
Yeah.
And to have all the tools and the kind of visualization of what you're trying to accomplish in one spot without having to get distracted is a huge unlock. Maybe they apply it in that way. Maybe they're thinking about that. Maybe they're not. I don't know. But that's where my mind went when you showed me that.
Well, it's nice to like string thoughts together. Like, instead of like looking at two separate places, like you just said, like even just scrolling down to find the image that you're looking for, just then like putting them side by side. Like, no, okay, let's redo this. Let's play with this. Let's generate a video on this one. Let's resize this. Because then you can take it a million different ways. And I like that because there's another tool that I've been playing with that's way more comfy UI-ish, but it's cloud-based. It's called Weevy. It's great. It's got like everything. Like that's just got Flora's got like the basics that are all you need. It's got like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. And then on the image side, it's like Flux, Luma, Ray Photon, and some of the other Flux models and Gemini. And then video, it's got Kling, Runway, Minimax, VO2, XYZ. So it's not a million, but Weevy has like everything. It literally looks like a comfy UI workspace, but it's not as complicated, and it's very easy to sort of play with the workflow builder, which, this stuff might not be for your daily creative needs, but if you're doing this stuff at scale, sometimes this is you're building these workflows and systems out. They could be like agents in a way, and it's just an easy way to bring things in. And I want to take this image, combine it with this, turn it into like product shots, and then resize it, 5 different ways, right? Like, and then you could build that workflow and then just drop the stuff in, hit run, and it all comes out. So
I think the hard part still lies in creating image by image, the variation that takes place within creating those images. Meaning, if you've got a theme baked out in your head, it's kind of a lot of work to get an image that feels perfectly cohesive of, let's say it's a different character, but you want that same lighting, that same style applied. Feels like it's, again, a continued part of an ongoing series, not detached. It really needs to feel tight and cohesive. And, like consolidated into one place to tell that story. Like I get so trapped sometimes in just like creating cool one-off things that I get away from the themes.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason why is because like it's so hard to create image by image, one at a time to connect those dots. Meaning like if I'm thinking about this nun series and I want a nun doing all this crazy shit, it might take me a certain amount of time to get one image, then to turn around and get them doing something totally different based on the mechanics or the physics of the image or whatever it is. That could take me a while. How do you consolidate that process? Because then that starts to get really interesting in terms of like stringing stories together in a very like streamlined, I hate straight. Hit me if I say streamlined from now on, but like, you know what I mean? Like that part of it is probably still one of the last things that feels like this super strenuous, time-consuming process.
Yeah.
And maybe character consistency and, things like that Sora piece of it, like they help, but like it's not there yet.
It's just crazy to me that like this stuff, like even this one that I'm going to show you here, like this is possible now, like taking these shoes, right? This is different. This is the Weevy now. And then like changing it just subtly, but then also getting a front view and then like maneuvering the shoes, and it's picking up all the fine grained details, especially the logo here. And then like the ridges, it's taking everything and doing it really well. And having this all in one space to generate at once and then be like, okay, I need this to make a square, right? I can make this 9x16, but like, this is what I'm talking about. You can use everything in this one. It has the out painting. It has, all these different models that you can play with. Then it's got these, generative, it has these like different sort of sketch to image, image to image, control nets. You have video stuff. You have all of this. Even on the workspace, you have like run any LLM. You can do a prompt concentrator, image describer. Like there's a lot of things. This is what I feel like sort of exactly what Comfy UI is working with, but you don't need to be crazy to do it. Like, like Comfy UI, not crazy. It's just like, it's a lot. You have to have the right hardware too. You can't just pick it up. You can use the certain tools on cloud-based. It's not as fast, but something like this is a nice way to sort of bring everything together, which I sort of like this workspace idea. Now, Patchwork, the idea is there, right? Like, you see the idea and it makes sense. It's just like, the execution needs to be tighter on that, because it was so confusing when they rolled that out.
Agree.
It's like, just
agree.
But they did mention V8, right?
They mentioned V8. They mentioned that they're starting testing training for 7.1, 7.2. So there's going to be iterations before, V8. I remember, I don't know if this is like 2 weeks ago now, but David really being optimistic about the fact that image quality, consistency, things like that are going to be like, there's plenty of room for those to even get better than they're at right now, which was great to hear, because we're not even talking about V8, right? We're talking about 7.1, maybe 7.2, you know, like, so those things are still on the horizon, but yeah.
Hopefully, maybe we'll see that this year. I don't know.
We'll see what happens. I mean, let's see what happens here in the next month or two. I'm curious to see if they get more aggressive with talking about video. We'll see how like that stays on track too. Curious, but
sounds like there was a change. Remember when we said that a couple weeks ago, where it was like, it just sounds like there's a little bit more. All right, we need to get stuff done.
Yeah.
It was sort of like, I don't know if it was, I don't want to say it was lax there for a while, but it felt very laissez-faire on certain things. And then it was just like, bang, we're here. Next update, next update, next update. Expect this, expect this.
Absolutely.
Expect this.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hoping for, man. I'm really,
Same with the community. Same with the community aspect. We ragged on that for a while, but I do think with all these other things in the fold, that's the other way to play this, right? It's not only pushing things faster and shipping it and, like putting their foot on the gas, but like they've got so many users. How do you keep them? How do you keep
improvement? That's all it is. It's just like perceived improvement. Like even if it's a micro feature, like we added weird back, great. We added remix back, great. Gives a ton of people something to talk about, a ton of people, stuff to try, and then you go on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Instead of just giant model release.
I also think like even with something like that editor, when there's so many like with that layer aspect specifically, they do need to continue to educate people on at least the foundation of how to use each little thing at this point. They have to, right? Because otherwise, you spent how much time building and then now no one's using it? You can't really afford to do that either, right? So they do have to sort of like do a better job of like drinking their own champagne and kind of like really force feeding and showing us exactly how they're doing the stuff and how to use it. Yeah,
I mean, they could be laying the foundation for 3D. I mean, I think Korea just dropped another 3D
and they did.
update. And
they did.
I didn't. Damn good. I haven't played with it yet though.
Yeah.
So who knows when 3D is going to get here, if they're even going to focus on it. There's like not. I'm like just excited again for just images. I feel like there's been a good shift back. Like it was just all video. It's only anyone cared about, and I'm taking like the social litmus test from what I see the most of.
Yes.
Right. That's all I'm making my judgment on. And now it's like I see a lot more images again, and I'm happy about that.
And remember, there was that huge gap in time where unless you were using Midjourney, you would see like the average person put out something on social. And what I like, my litmus test is like other just B2B marketers using Dolly for something. And I'm just like, bro, like just don't even put it out. Just don't even do it. You know what I mean? And now, right, with that ChatGPT component making that huge leap forward, you're seeing that part of it start to take place, and it's just a better quality. It fits into the feed better. There are plenty more use cases now, right? Like, so it's been interesting to see that take place. But
we got more coming.
More coming. We'll wrap this up. Rory, you're doing a little vacation, so we'll have to figure out the next recording, but we'll figure it out. And a lot of good stuff coming, guys. A lot of good stuff to be excited about. I mean, we're in a really good time, I think, in 2025 with just
the fact that we didn't even talk about Kling 2.0 today is telling you how much is going on.
We didn't talk about the Korea 3D thing. We didn't talk about a lot of stuff. Higgsfield, I don't even think we've talked about, which is just a whole nother video tool, right? So like, what do we? These are the times, guys. These are the times.
It's not slowing down. So get on board, hold on, because we've hit like sort of event horizon where it's no longer
event horizon.
Drew and I can't keep up. I can't keep up. I have to choose. It's like there's only so much you can deep dive into and like figure it out. It's sort of just like
very true.
Sort of just like there was like a tsunami and we're like just riding on top of it, just like keep going. There's no end to it. So let's, with that being said too, though, if you're still here, just hit the like button.
Like and subscribe, baby.
Like and subscribe. Maybe comment. Share with a friend. Show your mom. something, just to give us a little help here, because it's
Sounds
you guys are crushing as of lately, and we like it. And that's,
yeah.
it's helping us.
Loving all the
helping you.
shout outs, loving seeing your guys' work, love seeing the different creative, outcomes of having the same features. Some shit I would have never thought of. So it's really it's always fun to see. But yeah, man, let's put a bow on this thing. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll keep you posted on kind of these changes as they come through with Midjourney. We still got plenty of things coming, so we'll keep showing up if you guys do, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
See ya.